the top lane for Finn. I mean, we've seen moments of brilliance from him last year, but this is really the year in which he has to solidify himself. And Alphari is coming off one of the best week's performances, I think, in his entire career. So we're going to see if the top lane gets focused as we go into the picks and bans of Origen versus Rogue. As said, both teams still undefeated, but that's going to change because that's how that works.
Yeah, and just some quick homework here at the start of this pick ban phase. Sett enabled, Lux, Syndra both re-enabled as well. So all those picks are going to be pickable in this one. But already, I want to talk about this Qiyana ban on the side of Origen, because Qiyana was nerfed in this most recent patch. Notably, the attack speed got lowered, which makes her jungle significantly less powerful. But OG, remember Larssen's mid lane Qiyana game and how big he popped off.
And also, they're targeting the AD carries on the side of Origen as well. They saw that last week Hansama played Aphelios twice, so they're saying we'll take that away, as well as another comfort for him and Xayah.
There's actually a lot of AD carry bans. Aphelios, Xayah, Senna all being taken away is very surprising, and you can see that Rogue, I don't think they were expecting this amount of focus being put onto the bot lane. When we talk about like trying to invest in the bot side of the map, it feels like the Origen are the ones trying to take Hansama off of his comfort point. Now the question is, do they prioritize something like an MF, or do they look to prioritize the Varus instead?
I was thinking, I mean, if you want to go hard in the bot lane, like Lucian, also a champion that got banned around a couple times in the early split, or even a mage in the bot lane, because with Syndra getting re-enabled, we haven't seen her in any play so far this year. That could very well be mid lane Syndra full. With the fact that it is blind picked, I think it could be a flex.
The boss has entered the building, or the rift, however you want to put it. Sett is in, Ender.
All right, so here's the thing. I think early pick Sett is
really
wild.
Yeah, it's
it
really
is wild, especially there's a Syndra on the other side. So not only does she have range, but she can also, you know, knock him back with that scout of the week. Not that Sett's weak or anything, but she's going to be able to push him away. And if you set up your comp with range and CC, remember, Sett should not be able to function
But
well.
also, like, you're blind picking a top laner.
Yeah.
Like, that's always a dangerous thing to do. Right now, we see the safe blind picks being things like Aatrox, Mordekaiser. Like, we could see a Fiora come out from Origen, like something that has been considered a pretty strong counter pick into the... It just gives a player like Alphari so many options to guarantee himself a winning topside matchup.
I think that's a fantastic point, and if you see how well Alphari performed in week one, he is currently, he's doing well. He's in a vibe, so he's just going to have a lot of time to think about this counter pick.
Yeah, I think we can pack it up right now. I like what Origen have already. It looks great. I mean, you have disengage, you have CC, you have burst damage. Like, I really like the draft Origen has put together, and it ticks all the boxes that both I want to see versus Sett, and also that I like to see Origen go for.
So how does Rogue save this draft?
Well, to be fair, if by locking in the Leona, I think they have a very clear lane that they can play through, because I consider Leona to be a good matchup into the Nautilus, and I think that with an MF paired up with it, you have so much gank setup, you now just need to get the jungler that can provide this ganks, and with Olaf still available, a champion that's very strong into the Gragas as well, and something that Inspired is known for, I would wonder if Origen look to ban that one away, because if they don't, it should be an easy pickup for Rogue.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm sort of wondering here, because it could very well be that they're just like, hey, we can let them have the Olaf, and then we just beat them at 30 minutes anyways, because they have an Olaf in the jungle on the other side. But I do agree, Olaf into Gragas, very good matchup for the Olaf. So right now, on Origen's side, it's all about taking away strong early game junglers, whereas Rogue, I actually think that Lucian ban could be for a top lane Lucian, because top lane Lucian, I bet just smashes Sett.
That's very true. Yeah, I can see that. We're just kind of waiting for that final ban to come in from the side of Origen now. Like, I expect it to be an Olaf. They're actually going to go Jarvan.
See, that's the thing, though, because Jarvan's one of the best, like, early game junglers that's also strong in team fights. When you build tank, you can just initiate. Also pairs super, super well with that Misfortune, because right now, Rogue already have a lot of AoE damage. You have Leona for the MF setup, and also Sett, when he grabs one of your big, beefy frontliners, does a lot of AoE damage.
It's got to be the Olaf now for Rogue.
Yeah. I mean, it's no surprise then.
Yeah, no surprise, really. And expectations are that Rogue will be heavily looking to play through the bot side of the map in the early game.
So here's what I'm waiting for. Does Larssen pick a scaling mid laner now? Because if he does that next to Olaf, I don't really see how Inspired has a lot of utility to be able to do much in the early game without pressure there. So Larssen needs to be very smart how he uses this counter pick.
And we're looking out here if the Syndra will go in the bottom lane, but it seems like Upset is just cycling through possible AD carries, and there's not a lot left if he does want to go that direction.
Yeah, I don't think he really want Syndra bot lane versus the Leona either, because she can jump on you, she can just throw the R. Now with Tristana, Tristana can actually buffer the solar flare coming down from Leona, so you can't actually secure that long-range engage. And right now, that's your only engage tool unless Sett is coming around on a flank and can pick up one of your backliners.
I agree.
So do you guys identify the lack of reliable engage as kind of the main issue with the rogue composition versus this OG comp?
I think it's fine. They're engaged right now.
I don't think it is.
I mean, it's hard because of the amount of disengage from the side of Origen, which is kind of what makes it harder. Because what you can see happen is Olaf pops his ultimate, he runs in your face, but then everyone else behind him is just knocked away by a Gragas ultimate, knocked into the air by a Nautilus ultimate. Like, there's so much disengage CC available to them. And I was wondering what kind of direction Rogue would take with their mid laner, because they had the opportunity to counter-pick the Syndra, but as you were saying, Ender, they're going for more of a scaling option. They're going for more of a late game, and it's just so counterintuitive to what they wanted to pair up with the jungle with the Olaf.
And because all I heard from you in the pregame was we want to see that proactivity versus Origen from the side of Rogue, and it doesn't seem like that is what we're going to get.
I think Rogue got absolutely bodied in this draft. I want to say I actually think it's mid lane Tristana now. Obviously, they haven't swapped over just yet, but against Azir, if you get solo experience on the Tristana, you get that bonus range early. Azir has no chance of matching you.
You can also kill him at level 2.
Yeah, you can kill him at level 2, and now there's no chance that Larssen has prio in this mid lane matchup. I think Gragas can play around this Tristana, make sure she doesn't get ganked, and now where does Olaf go? I don't think bot lane's very reliable. I don't think top lane or mid lane is either.
I think they're going to try and dive bot lane, dude. I think that's where they're going to try and hard
Look,
force.
they can try as much as they want. I don't think they got the memo. They picked Sett early on, and OG have hard countered them.
Well, to summarize your thoughts about the draft as the coach shake hands, and yes, there's 2 on each side now with the
They still haven't figured that system out.
They haven't figured it out, but there we go. An absolutely huge matchup here. I think you're not too convinced about the Rogue draft, but maybe they have something up their sleeves. We couldn't ask for a better start to the week as the undefeated Rogue and Origen clash on the Rift.
And with Sett coming onto the Rift for the first time ever in the LEC, I am ready for this match. I'm Medic, I'm joined by Froskurinn. It's Origen versus Rogue. Let's kick off week 2 with a slobber knocker.
Already out the gate with the slobber knockers. Yeah. I wanted to kind of tee this one up, as we can see Sett and our nice little pip down there. Thank you, observers. We'll go through the abilities. And as we see them, we'll be sure to cover them as it's our first Sett in the LEC. Now, he has been played globally, particularly in the LPL. Not to the greatest amount of success, though, because my personal opinion is that the numbers on Sett's kit feel very overtuned. That when you do fight him, when you try to go in, particularly the shield that he gets
from the Haymaker,
is ridiculous, and so it's just very hard to kill him when he does get low health. But ultimately, as Dracos was talking about, and Ender very helped, there's a lot of windows that you can punish in his kit, that if you actually just keep him at arm's length and walk away from him, that it is hard for Sett to really do anything. And if you look at Origen's composition, we already talked about the disengage on the analyst desk. You know, you got the blowback from Tristana, you have the reset and the cast from Xerxe, you throw out a scatter of the week right there, you stop anyone trying to force on you. Origen draft a lot of range, and they do this all the time on their compositions. And just across the board, you can see that it is really hard to pick any sort of fight with Origen, and how that works in their team fights is how patient they are with them, how slow Origen play team fights. It's really beautiful to watch, and that's kind of the setup that I expect here. Rogue really need to pop off early, get some of their picks going, particularly that Olaf and that Sett, if they want to have a chance in hell at breaking Origen's team fight later on.
Well, if any Olaf is going to pick up a strong early game, it has to be inspired. Made his name on the champion last year on SK. Here, he was spotted on this blue invade by Alphari, but he has been able to get that blue early on.
Yeah, and it's a split map that's happening right now. The fact that you had vision by both teams being placed on the opposite blue buff, the fact that it's a delayed invade from Olaf, and it's trying to get Alphari and Finn in that isolated matchup so we can see what this set is going to do. But that does mean that Han, Sama, and VandeR most likely won't get the gank access that they really want to start popping off with that Leona misfortune.
See Finn already getting a bit of trading off in the top lane here on the Sett. Trying to build up that grit as much as you can before you use your Haymaker. Of course, the more of that grit you build up, the bigger a shield you get. Scaling alongside your max HP. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Tristana and the Syndra swippity-swappity that we had in pick and ban?
The classic swippy swap?
Yeah, classic swippy swap. We saw Larssen last pick the Azir, something he's very comfortable on, has always been good at these scaling utility mages, but it seemed like Origen were ready for him to pick something like that.
And this is one of the things, the fact that Syndra was disabled in week number 1, we expected her always to be high priority in a lot of champions, a lot of teams' draft phase because of her ability to be a flex pick. How many blind matchups that she can take, the fact that she can flex to multiple positions, and the fact that it allows them to get this soft counter matchup of Trist into Azir.
Gonna be a smite fight here for the blue. Xerxe picked it up, so both of the junglers will have got 2 buffs. That split map almost stopped by Inspired. If he'd been able to get that smite down there, he would have put Xerxe just that little bit behind.
Yeah, and it's Xerxe making, I'm going to call it a soft outplay with the priority that his bottom lane gave him to allow him to walk in there and make sure that he doesn't just fall super far behind, but there's the all-in.
Yep, all in. Larssen gets a little bit of a shield and is able to tank it up, but you can see already the trading patterns from Nukeduck in mid lane.
Yeah, and Nukeduck, again, is very confident to make that play because Xerxe, as he walks across this mid lane, did make eyes and Inspired, saw that he had moved onto the Gromp, so Nukeduck knows that he can expend something like a rocket jump to Goomba Stomp on Larssen's head.
Facebreaker there from Finn, gets a lot of damage down. Of course, you can use your auto attacks, the hit grit, 1-2 punch into your Q, which is knuckle down to get 2 more punches in, and you can trade very effectively on Sett, especially if you're running the Conqueror. You can get those stacks up very quickly.
Yeah, but then he wants to stay in combat with them, which is why I think the Aatrox pick is really interesting. Now, the question that I actually don't know the answer to, so I'm curious if Alphari and Finn will show us, is where kind of the scaling potential is there. If Aatrox can stay even with Sett, if Sett's going to eventually outscale Aatrox, because in the lane phase, it's pretty obvious that Aatrox with his Q has enough mobility to stay and keep Sett at arm's length and kind of pick the trades that he wants to see happen.
Now, what Finn is doing well is waiting for Alphari to try and get some of this CS, and then using that Facebreaker, that pull back, to stun Alphari against the minions and get advantageous trades, but the Infernal Chains then locks him up. Of course, Sett doesn't have a gap closer, so he can't then jump forward to try and catch out the Aatrox any further.
I'll hold up. Gank on Larssen here.
We go with the Predators. Xerxe's gone back for those already. Flash away with the follow. Flash. Nukeduck's going to jump in. Inspired's on his way. The explosive shot. Will it be enough? Ticking, ticking, ticking. And he's gone! He's out of there. First blood to Origen.
And I do want to really credit Xerxe's timing right there. He had just appeared top. He then immediately reset. And that was kind of the only window that Xerxe had to make that gank work on Larssen. Because you saw what Larssen was thinking. He's like, I have to shove this forward. And then I got to get the hell out of here because I've overexposed myself for a gank. And Xerxe just find the perfect timing to make it work with this Gragas.
Predator boots on that first back, and then this follow flash. Perfection from Xerxe.
Yeah, and then a good setup from Nukeduck. The fade away as the explosion ticks down.
Yeah. That's just so demoralizing to see if you're Azir in that situation. Like, well, I just can't do anything about this. Alphari is trading against Finn here. Finn has the pit grip built up, but Alphari winning the 1v1. Flashes to follow him and takes him down.
And this was set up from the wave as Rogue do manage to get something across map with the mountain, but that was set up from the wave. The fact that Alphari got himself pushed in, he actually created a freeze in front of his tower and then punished Finn on an extended lane. Didn't expect the damage to come out, and Aatrox is able to walk him down.
Alphari has such a stellar performance in week 1 on the gangplank, really just outmanning Fnatic, even in 2v1 situations. Here he's showing us just what he can do on this Aatrox as well. You can see Finn using the Haymaker, that trapezoid of death very early on, not really getting the full shield out of it, and now Xerxe's in the right place at the right time once again, but the sun's going to come down onto Upset. Hans Summer running for the hills, has the heal, has the flash. Xerxe, of course, no flash for him. And Hans Summer flashes away, but Xerxe still connects with the body slam. One more auto from Destiny will lock Hans Summer in his place. He's ripped back, and he's off the map.
And how many times are we going to say Xerxe right place, right time, when it's just Origen really understand how to set up their wave positioning for their jungler to gank at the perfect time. It was the fact that it happened in the mid lane. Xerxe shows up as the wave is being pushed into Nukeduck and catches Larssen before his back. It's the fact that Xerxe then rocks bottom. The wave is shoving in, leaving Hans Sama and VandeR exposed. And it's the fact that when Alphari is playing weak side, he got the freeze in front of his tower and is able to punish Finn on the top side of the map by chasing him down. So we get a replay from it. He TPs on the wave. It means that Finn can't just shove that wave in, try to reset it, and then just walks him down with the item advantage.
I also think Finn is just using that Haymaker a little earlier than I'd like to see. You need to build up all of that passive, that pit grip And again, Frosk, you talked about freezes early on. You can see Alphari is actually setting up this top wave in a very difficult position for Finn.
Yeah, and what Finn wants to do is he needs to get that wave to hit the tower because it's obviously so dangerous for him to be here anytime his jungler's not on that top side of the map. Playing weak side that far forward, Finn is just a sitting duck, a giant target on his back right now.
Well, Sett has been in the pits and has had that target on his back before, and he's outmanned and outgunned people in the past, well, at least lore-wise, but haven't seen him do it yet on the LEC stage. 7.5 minutes in, Origen. Look, I have a lot of Sett knowledge that I've been building up, Frosk. I have to get it out sometimes.
You can always tell that, like,
it's a new champ, and I'm excited. Okay.
Casters have lost the plot when the lore, like, information starts coming out. Thank you, observers. This is what we're talking about with the freeze. Obviously, the easiest way to maintain a freeze is to make sure at least you have 3 back caster creeps alive and available. The nice thing about keeping the 3 caster creeps, as you can see that that's what Alphari did, is that they attack so slowly, and they also have lower health, so you can very quickly kind of change how you want to control the wave by thinning them down as more waves crash in. But this is just bad news bears for Finn.
And with Origen having such an advantage early on, you know, almost 1,500 goals at only the 8-minute mark. You can even see Alphari's gone cull in this lane just to continue trying to get further and further ahead. And now Xerxe, knowing Finn has no flash, knowing those chains are going to connect, knowing the showstopper really isn't stopping any shows right now. Gonna get a knockback haymaker, not going to do enough. You can see what Sett could do if he was ahead, but in a 2v1, he can't win those.
And then, reminder, because of the freeze that Alphari set up, it just makes it that easy, and the wave is going to be at a perfect place for Alphari because he also gets to shove it in. Finn doesn't have TP. He's not able to follow this up. It's just super crisp wave management from Alphari to hard punish Finn. You can see it opening up in the CS, and it's going to start opening up in the itemization.
It's so difficult for Finn to do anything in that top lane now. In draft, VoDs talked about how Rogue's focus was likely to be the bottom lane, though, and we haven't really seen that too much so far. We saw one gank kind of work. We saw the dragon taken by Rogue early on, but haven't seen Inspired have the impact he would usually have in a game like this.
I think the nice thing is that Hansama and VandeR would still have the option post level 6 that they wouldn't need Inspired to try to make the bot lane work just because of how strong the damage setup is from Leona Misfortune. Obvious though, with Upset having access to cleanse, anytime that's up, it's going to be super hard to kill down there, but the game plan from Origen seems really clear off of the 3 games that we've seen from them, which is neutralize, draft scaling, draft range, see at 30 minutes, we'll win the game then.
I mean, they can do it so often. Right? At the moment, they're 2,000 gold ahead. Really not losing too many lanes that hard. Larssen has got about a 20 CS lead over Nukeduck in the mid lane, but Nukeduck, of course, with that kill will make the gold pretty even. And as you say, we haven't really seen Origen go for dragons, go for objectives early on. They tend to play much more for the laning phase. And
that is also one of the nice things that an Olaf's going to offer you, and kind of one of the bright spots, at least for the early game in Rogue, is that Olaf can solo out these Drakes. So again, they traded the Mountain for a lot of the pressure and topside for Finn. As this Infernal is spawning for 20 seconds, you can see that Inspired is already kind of prepping this one.
Been able to dodge out of the Infernal chains in that top lane, but Inspired is, as you say, they're prepping it. This is what Rogue do well. Their vision control is pretty strong. Solar Flare coming out. Destiny immediately goes golden. Zenith Blade still connects across the wall, and Destiny has been chased down. Inspired takes the kill. The first one on the board for Rogue. Upset, running away. Rift Herald has been used in the top lane here by Xerxe. He's trying to match that pressure on the other side of the map. He knows Rogue wants to play for the dragon.
And it's a very conscious choice now for Origen to trade the top side for the Drake. But now we keep having this conversation, theoretically, kind of across regions of what is worth more, the early Drakes or the gold in the lane. And it feels like a lot of analysts, LS in particular, really stand firm that the gold in the lane is worth far more because it's better to have the back 3 stacking Drakes. In this case, it would be the Ocean in terms of stats, rather than to get 2 mixed Drakes early on.
Showstopper popped by Finn. The RKO out of nowhere came in, and here comes the teleport. Alphari maybe stepped over his mark, but a great explosive cast from Xerxe will get his top laner to safety.
Just so crisp there from Xerxe to hold the cooldown, wait for the TP to come out. Beautifully played.
Really good stuff by him so far. Xerxe, he was a jungler that came onto the scene and had such a strong impact early on, and then last year he still did stuff, but he wasn't that extraordinaire player. He wasn't a player that you would put with the likes of Caps, the likes of Perks, you know, right at the top of his game. In these first few games on Origen, he has really looked like a revitalized Xerxe.
I think it's just the surrounding pieces, because I think it's hard to figure out the intangibles that Xerxe brings to a team, because again, he's not a super flashy player like the Selfmades and the Yankoses who are kind of running in and forcing these ganks, making these impossible maneuvers happening. It's that smart mental game that guys like Xerxe and Cold were playing. But this time around, you know, Xerxe is surrounded by people with so much experience and so much higher ceilings than the previous team he was on, so no wonder he's going to shine.
One of the players that has really benefited from his attentions has been Alphari in the top lane. Last week had an incredible performance, 10 KDA, participating in 2/3 of his team's kills, and was out-damaging his lane opponent by 500, he had 500 damage a minute with 1/3 of his team's damage share. So really did a good job all around, getting ahead and keeping that lead. And that's why I look at this game and say he's got a 40 CS lead at the 13-minute mark. He's 2-0, he's got a Black Cleaver and a Cull stacking up. He's only going to get stronger from here.
Yeah, Alphari always gets so much praise from other top laners that laning against him. He's a world-class top laner, one of the best that we have in the LEC, possibly the best up there with VandeR in performance right now. Of course, we'll see VandeR play later on today, but after that GP game, I think Alphari, people remember the name. They will not be forgetting it anytime soon.
And now has just pinged up towards a level 11. So with no dragon on the board for 3 minutes, we'll see what Rogue decide to set up. Bot lane once again. Hansama and VandeR have pinged over towards those level 6, level 7, level 8 marks. They have their ultimates available. We'll see if Upset and Destiny get caught out by this play, because Upset still has his flash and his cleanse.
What I think is interesting is actually the reset that Destiny took and where he's heading.
Upset cleanses, and he just walks away.
Okay, interesting. That's obviously just a mistake there from Upset and Destiny to be desynced. The fact that the wave is that far forward, that Upset is forced to use his cleanse. Then I guess silver lining is that no big team fight should be coming up. That Ocean Drake still 2 minutes away, but always a feels bad moment.
It has been a while since we've actually seen Upset on one of these majors in the bottom lane. It was 2018 summer against G2 that he last played a non-traditional bot laner. It was a Rise against G2. They won the game, which perhaps bodes well for Origen this game, but I was a little bit surprised that we saw him take the Syndra and saw that Tristana going mid.
Yeah, he's usually not the AD carry that we would consider with those mage bot lanes, as Perks and Caps reinventing the game. So far, it's been fine on this Syndra.
Yeah, he's done his job.
Obviously, with Tristana in the mid lane, it's not like you lose anything out in terms of your siege potential. In fact, your siege potential gets that much stronger because of Syndra's zone on Scatter the Weak when you approach a tower, and then the Tristana range. You still have the AD, or traditional AD carry, to help you burn down things like a Baron.
It will be interesting to see exactly how that dynamic works. Of course, Nukeduck, very experienced, always known it for his champion Ocean, so I have no doubts at all that he can play this Tristana. If not as effectively as Upset, but very close.
So I kind of want to reset expectations now and turn the game from the lens of Rogue and what Rogue are looking for. And you can see with VandeR and Inspired being buddy-buddy and holding hands, that at this point, Rogue have all of the key ultimates, kind of the initial item buys that they want, that they're trying to set up picks, and Origen, obviously reading that, are just kind of daring them. So, yeah, I don't think you guys have positioning for that one, though.
So it feels a little bit difficult to set up a pick when you are behind in gold and across the board, relatively behind in itemization. You look at it, you've got a Luden's Echo finished on Upset, only the Essence Reaver on Hansama. The Storm Razor's complete on Nukeduck, no first item on Larssen.
It's why it's emphasis on setting up a pick rather than looking for a team fight, because you're still going to have great kill potential from a lot of the key ultimates and kind of the raw damage that will come out of Rogue's composition. But obviously, if it's a line of scrimmages set straight 5v5, like what happened over the Rift Hill, Rogue are like, it's not that time yet. Like, it's fine, you can have it, we didn't want it anyway.
And do you think it will ever be that time for Rogue? Do you think, say, we get to 30 minutes and it's only a 3,000 gold difference? Do you think this composition can take that full 5v5?
I mean, it feels like a lot of the compositions right now in League of Legends have so much wombo combo potential with them that it really always just comes down to execution. And of course, you have that scaling potential from the Azir.
So this feels big. Third Dragon really puts a clock on the enemy, and it seems like Origen are just giving it up. Maybe trying to get here in time, but they're not going to be there. They got the Rift Tower, but Rogue get their third Dragon of the game, and it looks like they get out scot-free.
And I think it's because Origen are thinking that with 2 back-to-back Heralds, and now the map being opened up as this Herald will surely take down the mid-tower, that Origen are saying, that's fine, have this one now, because in 5 minutes, we'll have so much control over the map that you'll never be able to approach another dragon on fair terms.
Gonna check here to see if Xerxe gets anything off. He doesn't. I do want to come back to that point though, because we talked a lot when we were prepping for this game about Origen and how they tend to play for lanes and not for objectives. They play to get waves, and you can actually see that a little bit here represented at the bottom. Their CS, so how much farm the entire team has at 15 minutes, is 518, and then they get another about 30 to 40% of that in the next 5 minutes. The gold is the one that I really want to highlight. They increased their gold by 50% in the 5 minutes between 15 and 20. They were about 26,000 in this game. You expect to see them up around the 40,000 mark by the end of that 15 to 20 minute period.
And what this visually looks like, and kind of like the layman's terms, is that for the first 15 minutes of any Origen game, it's probably going to be relatively quiet. You'll see Xerxe get off a couple of ganks, but they're not going to be a big grouping team fight team around early dragons, because Origen as a team have decided that there is much more gold in the lanes themselves, getting access to plates, farming waves, rotating around the map, rather than grouping up for team fights, which is why between 15 and 20 minutes, when things start to explode, that's because, as you were talking about, that clock strikes. Now's the time to fight for dragons. Now's the time when the dragons matter. So Origen games, super quiet first 15 minutes. Post 20 minutes, they run away with leads.
I mean, I'm really hoping something happens because they have 2 minutes to get about 8,000 gold if our metrics are correct. At the moment, it's Alphari flashing away in the top lane as Larssen and Finn just shuffled in. No flashes burnt on the side of Rogue, so Alphari did have to pop both his ultimate and a flash, which means there's a slight summoner advantage on the side of Rogue now.
But that's so many resources in terms of players on the map expended from Rogue to try to force Alphari off a map, whereas now you have both Destiny and Xerxe shadowing Nukeduck here to continue to get massive chip damage on these structures. Origen are melting through this map.
Yeah, it's another tower gone. 4 turrets to 0 in favor of Origen, and it's not the explosive League of Legends we came to know and love from G2 last year or from Fnatic, but it is working. It's methodical. They know exactly what they want to do at every portion of the game, and so far, you really can't doubt this Origen lineup.
No, and now the question is, what do Rogue need to do to try to break it? And they have to find a fight, preferably again on uneven footing, and that's when things like VandeR's long-range ultimate, creating these pockets of vision as they're moving into spaces, placing down these control wards, and again, trying to find a pick, trying to find someone unsuspecting as they move to these waves to start setting up, that they can grab someone, immediately move into a numbers advantage, and hopefully snowball an objective off the back of the team fight.
And you do always have an insurance in the form of Larssen. On this Azir, 223 CS, only 19 minutes into the game. He is only going to get stronger as this game goes on. If he gets a good wall off, if he gets his soldiers in the right position, people are going to melt.
My only concern is that it's still relatively hard to play side lane with Azir. It's not impossible because he does have disengage options. He can kind of swoop and remove himself from lanes, but it's still harder for how far Finn is behind on this set for Rogue to play a traditional 1-3-1 with an Azir and a Sett that's behind versus what Origen can do with a Tristana and a very fed Aatrox.
So Origen are ahead of their usual gold tally at this point, but they didn't accelerate the way that they always do. Another turret coming down from 26 to 36,000 in 5 minutes. I'll take that, Frosk. If I'm Origen, I'm looking at that gold number and I'm very, very happy.
I'm curious if this Tristana Syndra flex is going to be the bread and butter of a lot of Origen's compositions to come.
What do you think it would mean for them if they can have Upset flexing a mage in the bottom lane when previously he's been very much that marksman player?
I think that there's an advantage, and it shows in the draft here in terms of how many ADCs were banned comparatively to other teams in the LEC, that Origen's bot lane feels comfortable playing anything and everything. The Sennas, the Lucians, the Syndras, the Tristanas, whereas I do not think that that is true for every LEC team, which makes Origen that much more powerful in draft. And just to quote Ender, they got hard smashed in draft.
Rogue got hard smashed in draft.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that so far. It's been paying off pretty well for Origen, but Rogue do still have that Ocean Soul. In just 13 seconds' time, the Ocean Dragon will come onto the Rift. And I'm not Vedius or Draco, so I'm not going to try and puppet it out for you. You can see it happen, spawning to the bottom side. Origen do have total control of the area.
Next, remember what we said earlier, it's that Origen now know that at this point, that they're going to feel confident to fight.
Facebreaker coming out, the showstopper, the RKO comes out of nowhere, but Finn just can't get the damage down. Trying to catch out a Syndra with that is never going to work. Explosive Cask is stopwatch. Finn will get out, but he burned a lot to try and get in.
Yeah, and now it's a question of if the flash from Sett will pay off with the flashless Syndra in the fight to come. Rogue are really going to try to force this, and if it backfires and they lose here, it's very easy for Origen to walk across to Baron. Here comes the TP from Sett.
But Upset's in the great position for Scatter the Weak. VandeR trying to go forward, pulled back by the Infernal Chains. Ocean Dragon down to 1,000, is smited by Xerxe, but here comes the fight. The bullet time's going to open up, and Alphari's going to have to try and get away. Inspired down, one down as well as Alphari falls. But Origen were able to get the Dragon. Now are Rogue going to go up towards that Baron?
I would love a bold call like this. They would be able to melt through it very quickly.
They're not going to do it.
Nah, I think you're right. They're going to pull off.
Go Rogue does not mean go bold, apparently. So.
I was just going to talk about how we highlighted the fact that Syndra and Sett traded their flashes for each other, but I actually think the more important cooldown that Rogue recognized was the fact that Xerxe didn't have access to the cask, that he used it to try to snag Finn when Finn decided to disengage from the fight. Finn was able to dodge it, I believe, with the Hourglass. We'll check back into the replay, and I think that was kind of the big go, but Gragas doesn't have cask, he can't reset this fight, we are going to force it right now.
You can see the power of Syndra at the start of this fight, pushing VandeR away, meaning he can never get close enough to really engage.
Yeah, Inspired trying to get to the pit, looking for the Smite Steal, but it was Xerxe who ended up securing it, so unfortunately breaking that combo of the Drakes for Rogue.
For the moment, Origen are able to hold on to the hope of securing themselves a soul, but I think we saw a glimpse of how fights are likely to go there. It will be Upset playing a bit of a bouncer, Xerxe doing the same, Destiny doing the same, and then Rogue burning all of their skills to try and get in, and Origen hoping they can just continue to disengage.
It was a bit of a weird fight, though, simply because there was a fight previously to it, and again, one of the crucial cooldowns that most of these fights are going to revolve around is that cask from Xerxe, because again, Origen's composition wants to play fights really slow, whereas Rogue's composition wants to just run in and obliterate you through the duration of the Misfortune ultimate, and then hopefully if there is any cleanup duty, it's Larssen on his famous Azir.
Do you think we're going to continue seeing Finn waiting for his flash and being a flash engage tool for his team like he was there with the Syndra?
I mean, I think he has to be. This is, again, another composition where Rogue have drafted and don't necessarily have the strongest hard engage.
Yeah.
It's basically all on VandeR, and if Larssen wants to get some fancy footwork with the Azir scoop, or if Finn is looking for a flash engage. And that's kind of what happened on that Mordekaiser composition that Rogue last week. It was Finn who had to make a Hail Mary flank TP and then kind of flash into the middle of a fight.
It worked out for them last week. Of course, they are 2-0 coming in. One of everyone's top teams in the LEC coming into the split. I think they proved that they deserve that reckoning in week 1. But when you face up against teams like Origen, you need to be better than top 4. You have to be top 3. So not Origen, maybe even top 2. As Fnatic are on the cusp of that podium right now, in my estimations.
I still feel like it's pretty easy to say that our top 4 teams are not necessarily in this order, but G2, Fnatic, Rogue, and Origen.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with you there. I think a lot of people would have said they agree with you coming into the split, which I think shows perhaps we're getting better at predicting things, Frost. Good job. Well done, analysts.
I will say, though, that I think that Rogue had a relatively rough week 1, that we truly didn't see the full potential of them. I did expect to see a bit better in this game. They still have time to turn it around, but I still think there's more Rogue to show us, and they're going to try right now.
Look for Hans Summer. Upset almost gets the knock up on Hans Summer, but can't quite connect. However, VandeR is going to pay for his bouncing duties with his life. Gargoyles can only save you for so long, my friend. Upset secures the kill. 1-0 on this Syndra, his first kill or assist or death of the game.
Still not enough for Origen to feel confident pulling the trigger on the Baron. Xerxe fishing with a flank.
Yep. Trying to get in from the side, unable to find his man. Finn didn't have teleport, so wasn't able to match Alphari's pressure in the bottom lane, but if he goes across there, we'll see Origen start at the Baron.
And thank you for the picture-in-picture in the bottom left corner. It's the fact that Origen have again set up their side waves, which is why now they're confident to turn towards the Baron. They know that someone will have to respond there or they're losing gold, so Rogue, between a rock and a hard place, they're going to have to make a decision very quickly on what they're going to do.
Inspired has no flash, there's no blast gun, there's no way of getting in here. He's looking for it, but there's only 5,000 HP on it at the moment. Destiny going to go step forward. Finn looking for the Haymaker, can't quite find its mark. And they are able to disengage Origen from the Baron. Of course, VandeR had respawned and was on his way.
Yep, very well done from Rogue there. They managed to dissuade Origen off of it. Origen took too much damage, and then it does transition into a mid-lane tower.
And Rogue keeping that gold lead at about the 4,000 to 5,000 gold mark. By this point, Origen tend to start claiming more and more. but Rogue have been able to keep it close, and 30 seconds on the Dragon means that Rogue are going to let Inspired reset. He's finished a Black Cleaver, and he'll come down to join this fight.
And now this is where Origen actually fumbled in their Fnatic series. They went to take a Dragon and they left the Baron exposed, which is why I like this trap being set up from Rogue. Catch them here, and Rogue can, again, crack this game wide open if they can get a hold of this Baron for a Dragon trade, or possibly even the Dragon themselves to open up a potential Elder later on.
You do feel it really comes down to this next fight. We're looking for the engage tools from Rogue. You have to keep your eyes on Finn. He's the one flashing in, looking for the showstopper if he can connect, or even if he can get a stun with that base breaker pullback. But now they're stepping into darkness. The Ocean Dragon is alive. There's no minion wave for them to hard force in. Alphari, he's on his way for the flank here. If Alphari gets the right position, he is going to shred through Rogue. But Rogue realize they can't push forward. They're accepting of this. It says, okay, you can have two Oceans. We're going to get control over that Baron. But once again, Origen have set up that top wave, so Rogue aren't able to pressure this effectively.
Yeah, I think the unfortunate thing for Rogue is that they waste too much time trying to contest or moving into the bottom river to get the Drake instead of just immediately going towards the Baron. Good thing is that Origen probably felt confident leaving the Baron up. Like, Rogue can't trade for this anyway. They wouldn't be able to burn it fast enough because it's a Misfortune versus something like a Varus. It's an Azir versus something like a Cassiopeia, that they don't have the same burn that Fnatic did in kind of the previous composition. And we've got it warded this time around. So Origen take their second Ocean, they reset, and now we'll be playing around the side waves and that Baron.
And 28 minutes into this game, I do want to bring attention to the fact that Nukeduck and Upset are the only two players in our league who have yet to die, either in week 1 or so far this week. They've had a stellar performance, and even if they're swapping their roles around just a tad, with Nukeduck playing the Tristana and Upset playing the Syndra, it seems like you just can't kill these dudes.
Okay, new mini game for Rogue.
Okay.
If they can't win this game, at least kill those two.
Yeah, okay, that's great. That's a cool minigame. It feels very defeationist, I'm gonna be honest. It's one of those like, oh, we can't beat SKT, but at least we killed FLICKR once. Double Doge did it. It's an old school reference for all of you old school fans out there. Must be like 4 years old now, 5 years old. Good old Dumble Doge kill, but for the moment, Origen are just setting up vision around the Baron once again. With it being 3 minutes on the Ocean Dragon, they can use 4 players to push up towards this topside jungle, really starve Rogue out of any vision. Rogue have 2 farside alterations, 3, so they might be able to catch out the Baron if it is started.
They've also got, Rogue have completed 2 Gargoyle Stoneplay on both VandeR and Sett right now, so they're actually probably feeling really confident to hard force one of these fights and get those 2 key playmakers in the middle of all this action, and then just stand on your Gargoyle Stoneplate and hopefully that Azir and Misfortune take care of the rest.
It really makes me feel that Finn is being used as primarily a hard engage tool in this game as well, because usually you see sets get a little bit more damage. Things like a Death Dance, a Phantom Dance has been played in Korean solo queue. A little bit more bang for your buck before you go down this tanky route. But
it's just much harder against a team like Origen,
definitely,
because they'll play the map, and then if you're itemizing for the team fight with something like a Gargoyle Stoneplate versus your 1v1 potential, that means that you basically sacrifice any ability to mess with Origen when they're dragging around with waves.
Okay, Control Wall just got in the back of the pit. Origen have reset on this. And they're gonna go for mid. Predator, Xerxe looking for it. Finn's like, come on, come take me. Knuckle down with me, Xerxe. You wanna Barney? We can fight.
And this is actually really well played from Rogue. Origen keep taking too much damage on this Baron, and they're not doing it fast enough or committing to it.
Oh, that's the Banshee's gone from Upset. This could be the moment. He says, hopefully, it's a play-by-play. Alphari coming in from the side. VandeR's taking a lot of damage. Look at Nukeduck. He's just pushing in from the side, but here comes the engage. VandeR jumping in, the solar flare coming out, and there's the bullet time, and that's 1! And maybe they're looking for more. The Sun Disc comes down, showstopper to Alphari, but it really doesn't take too much damage, and Finn is getting chased. Nukeduck jumping forward. It's a 1-for-1 trade in the mid lane.
But the good news is for Rogue fans is that the jungler is dead, so it would still be exceptionally dangerous for Origen to immediately turn towards the Baron, so I think it's just the team fight gold at this point.
They do lose top inhibitor tower there, though. You can see just how much Alphari is doing. Once again, his first 3 games have been impeccable from the Welshman in the top lane.
I just have to emphasize, it's not just Alphari's lane phase that is really cool to watch, it's how he zones in team fights. He did it with the Gangplank, he's now on the Aatrox. I can only imagine how devastating he would be in team fight zone control on something like an Ornn. Watch where he goes for the flanks, how he's zoning for his carries, when he chooses to step forward. Just like a masterclass.
It felt like Rogue was a little bit at ends here because VandeR engages and everyone else is running away.
Yeah, I'm gonna say people got a bit too zealous on both sides for this team fight.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the show to stop when Finn uses that ultimate. It continues on. We'll see. Maybe one of them will be a showstopper.
Just needs one. Just needs to grab one of those tanks, put him in the back line.
At the moment, it feels a bit like Cats, you know? The movie just keeps going on and on and on and on. You're praying that it will end.
Some insults are too far. That one was
Okay.
that was way over the line.
Okay, 32 minutes in, 5,000 gold lead still here for Origen. They have been slow, they've been methodical. They have taken what they needed when they needed it, but they've never really overstepped their bounds.
I also think it's just credit to Rogue that they've been able to stall this Baron for so long.
And now you do see Larssen with that Rabadon's death cap. Getting towards that 3-item Azir. However, Nukeduck now, QSS, Infinity Edge, Storm Razor, Rapid Fire Cannon, and Rogue have no pressure on this third Ocean Dragon for Origen. We wondered when Rogue took the first Ocean, when they had 3 dragons, whether Origen maybe had let them get a little bit too much in the early game, but it's that starving out, that gold lead, translating into objective control that we talked about earlier on, Frost.
Yeah, but now we're going to go the distance. What truly is superior in the late game, your Tristana or your Azir?
What do you think?
Well, I think it's about how team fights happen. In an execution where a team fight is just kind of standing still, I actually really like Azir. But if a team fight is obviously bouncing around or you get to move it front to back, then I'm going to really like a Tristana.
I see that, I see that. Do you think the MF does more than the Syndra in a team fight?
Who is actually connecting with what abilities? Like,
Yeah.
can Syndra reach the MF and stop the ultimate?
It's a big question. Of course, Nautilus very good into Misfortune, and now looks like it might be a 4v5 with Xerxe comes in, explosive cast finds its market, found 4, but Rogue were able to get away. Now, Origen, do you turn straight towards the Baron? I think you should. You've got so many ticking health bars on the side of Rogue. Finn has his teleport if he wants to join.
The thing is so much responsibility is on Larssen's shoulders right now to stall out this Baron while Inspired is racing back towards this pit.
And Summer's going to heal up now. The Baron has been started. VandeR looking for the flank position.
There's no flash on Inspired. He'd have to walk all the way around to smite contest it.
You coming, Finn? You going to join the fight? Finn teleports in, down towards the bottom side of it, and now Rogue have decided they want a bit of a Barney in the river. Facebreaker misses, Finn hits the Haymaker, but already 3,000 HP on the Baron. Rogue stepping forward. Look for those engage. Oh, they've reset it, the Baron. Healing up. Now they go forward once again. Where's the solar flare? Not up. VandeR doesn't have that big engage tool, but he's going to go in onto Destiny. Inspired, kick back. He's done. Upset takes him. And now Alphari just zones out all of Rogue. VandeR jumps in, but Origen get the Baron. Origen get 2, and Origen get everything they wanted.
Now chasing on, they burned a lot of key ultimates, so it's going to be hard for them to lock them down.
Alphari connects once again, and Finn just can't do anything about it. He tries to take down Destiny, but you can't punch those. Destiny able to escape. Xerxe's going to chase Larssen and Hansama down towards the bottom side of this. Larssen puts down the Emperor's right. Hansama trading against Nukeduck, but he loses. Bullet time comes out. They get 1, but they are aced for it. And now pushing down mid Alphari and upset.
And this was the watershed moment that we've been waiting for kind of the last 7 minutes. It was going to be the Baron, very slowly played by Origen right there. And finally, it feels like Rogue are really going to get choked out of this game.
Yeah, Inspired, he just dies. He just dies. Nukeduck unkilled, but he is killing everyone on Summoner's Rift right now, and you have to feel this is all but done. The Nexus towers will be the focus for Origen. Solar Flare, who cares? Doesn't really do too much. And oh my lord, Origen have just broken Rogue in half this game.
I'm going to use the word suffocating. When you play against Origen, they suffocate you out of the game. So slow in their decisions, in their team fighting. It's that patience. I wish we could get a replay of that last Baron fight. How many times Origen kept aggro of the Baron when they were kind of juking, trading off of it. Destiny in particular, him zoning people away when he used the Nautilus ultimate to make sure that Rogue couldn't get into the pit. Very controlled play.
And it's kind of what we saw from Origen last year, but better. And I like it. This Origen roster, I think, are very, very close to being the best team indisputably in the league right now. I think G2 and Fnatic will have more to say about it, but Origen looked the cleanest.
And it now means that our match of the week means that much more. Because imagine, if Rogue had snatched Origen here, then clearly the match would be Rogue versus G2. But now that Origen have taken down Rogue, they are still undefeated. They're looking across from G2, and you have that vastly different clash of styles. As Cap said, we are chaos versus the patience and control of this Origen squad.
Well, if you guys want to vote for your Kia player of the game at LEC on Twitter, you've got Alphari, Xerxe, and Nukeduck as your options. Honestly, they were all really, really good.
Has to go to Alphari, come on.
Has to go to Alphari, apparently. After the break, Ender will tell you why Sett top lane didn't work. It's because he lost. We'll also hear from Origen's coach, so don't go anywhere. Woo!
I want the LEC back so I can stand in the chat. I want the LEC back in my life. Rap battles, very feeling alright. I want the LEC back tonight.
So tell me, who was the player of the game?